Hey, friends, it's the Rose Show Live, also known as Rashonda Pratt, but some of you may know me in the digital streets as the Rose Show Live, communication strategist and content producer, helping you to be seen, heard, and paid because your visibility is power. I'm so excited because I have all my favorite people who are joining me. I'm broadcasting now live on my Facebook page, my public figure page on Facebook, and also my YouTube channel, Visibility is Power TV. And I also see some of my favorite friends here on IG. Shanice, Girl Confident, Nancy, Delphine. Good to see all of you. Thank you guys so much for joining the live stream. So tonight I'm managing multiple platforms because I just believe so much in this message and what I'm going to share tonight about breaking the silence that I just thought it was unfair just to say I'm going to show up on IG. It's unfair just to show up on YouTube and Facebook. I said, you know what? It ain't no fun if my homies can't have none. I can't believe I just quoted that out loud. Some of you all will get that reference. But I decided that, you know what? I need to share this with all of my friends and invite you all to the experience. So, listen, if for those of you, my folks on IG are already doing this, I see you guys tagging some people. You all are sharing this. Thank you so much for doing that. To those of you who are here on Facebook and YouTube, do me a favor kindly, tag your business bestie, invite this to the conversation and share because we're talking about breaking the silence, overcoming the hesitations, and sharing your story. Your story, not my story, not your neighbor's story, but your story. And here's why this is so important and so key. And it's actually one of I do a state of visibility address at the end of every year. And I'm going to talk about this in my state of visibility address. Is storytelling, ladies and gentlemen, is the most ancient and most powerful marketing tool. And I no longer want to see my people and my friends not using storytelling. Facts tell, but stories sell. Listen to the woman who worked as a television news producer for 20 years. There's something very powerful about telling your story, Tiffany. Thank you for loving my hair. Something very powerful about doing that. But I also know for a lot of people, Nathalie, good to see you, that there is some hesitation and we want to confront the hesitation. So tonight for some of you, this is going to feel like therapy. Again, I'm not a licensed therapist. I only share my experiences and what I've learned. Okay. For some of you, this is going to feel like therapy. For others of you, you're just going to be like, oh my gosh, someone finally gets it. And you're welcome. So let's get into this. Okay. So let's start off with one of my favorite Native American proverbs. I say this anytime I get an opportunity to talk about storytelling, to talk about creating content, to talk about communications, and it is this. It says, those who tell the stories rule the world. If you are taking notes, write that down. It says, those that tell the stories rule the world. Think about that. First of all, there's a couple of things about that proverb. It doesn't say that those who tell an accurate and true story rule the world. That is a lie for another time. It just says that those that tell the stories rule the world. So, what that tells me is that storytelling is a way for you to have dominance, for you to have rulership in whatever your field of study is, whether you're a coach, speaker, consultant, author, whatever your world is, right? Those that tell the stories rule the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we are being told stories all of the time. In fact, you tell yourself some stories, which we're going to get into that a little bit later. You don't believe this? I'll put myself on Front Street. Many of you who meet me in person, I love when you guys meet me in person for the first time because it usually involves the story goes like this. Oh my gosh, I love you. I enjoy your content. Oh my gosh, your glasses are amazing. I love your style. Oh, I can't wait to see what your next hair color is. And then it usually goes to this, Nathalie. Wow, you look so much taller on the screen. Yes, It's true, ladies and gentlemen. Most middle schoolers, including my son, is taller than I am. Okay. And I am fine with that because I often tell people that in the spirit, I'm 7'2". Okay. So, but what I tell myself this is I say things like this. Oh, if I get these heels and I'm walking across the stage, this will make me look taller. There was a season because of Oprah Winfrey. I was buying long and lean jeans from the Gap. Some of you may remember these jeans because for some strange reason, these jeans made me feel long and lean because we tell ourselves stories. And what I am finding in the visibility work that I am doing with coaches, speakers, CEOs, founders, I'm finding that it's the internal story that's impacting your outward performance. Someone tweet that, make sure to tag me. Someone put that in the comment section. Let's go ahead and put some notes out there for the people who are going to be watching this in the replay. Did you hear what I said? It's your internal story that's impacting your outward performance. I'm finding that people, Shanice, are not able to show up consistently here is because what they're telling themselves in here. The story they're believing about their story in here. The story they're believing about their experiences, their journey, etc. Your internal story is impacting your outward performance. Consistency is no more than just a decision, you guys. I know there are people out there who can tell you that, I give me 30 days, I could train you on how to be more consistent. Consistency really is just a decision. But you can't get consistent in showing up to do live videos, posting the videos, telling your story because what you believe about your inner story, the inner dialogue. And so I started challenging this about myself because, Girl Confident, thank you so much for sharing the notes. Shanice, glad that you're here. Thank you guys for sharing notes. Natalie, you're doing an amazing job here on Facebook and YouTube, sharing stories, sharing your notes. I appreciate it. What I've learned is even in my own journey, right? And the next level that God is asking me, or you know what, giving me an invitation. God's just giving me an invitation. Rashonda, I would like to invite you to this experience. And in order to take this invitation, it's requiring me to challenge the inner story and the inner dialogue that I have been telling myself. And what I have found, in more often than not, in the work that I do, is that people don't value their story, their journey, or their experiences. If this resonates with you, come on, throw up some hearts, give me some love. Go ahead and tag another friend, tag your business bestie, and hit the share button. You value the Kardashians, that's why you share it. You value all this weekend, and nothing wrong with this. I've seen all across my timeline people sharing about Tyler Perry's story. Notice that. Tyler Perry just came out with his documentary telling his story about his childhood. I haven't seen it yet, but basically his journey in order to be the Tyler Perry that we've seen today. From what I can tell, that it's very raw, vulnerable, and all up and down my timeline. I see people sharing, oh, I just watched it. This is so powerful. It really resonated with me. And then I start to ask myself, well, how many of these people will then say, well, if Tyler can share his story and I found value in it and I wouldn't share it on my timeline, why can I not share my own story? Well, what I found is because you don't share your story because you don't see the value in it, whether it's good or bad. And I know for some people, your story can be filled with trauma. Listen, I get it. Your story can be filled with embarrassment and shame. We're going to talk about that. Okay. But what I'm saying is that we have to understand that there's still value in a broken crayon. It's still colors, ladies and gentlemen. There's still use in what appears to be broken. And even if you break a pencil lead, guess what? You just pull out your pencil sharpener and you just sharpen it so you can get that point just right. I'm just coming to tell you that there's still value in wherever your story is. that we have to get over the hesitation in order to really make the impact, influence, and income that we desire. Listen, I'm seeing some comments here. I see people saying, oh my gosh, this is good. Preach, Ro. This is amazing. I'm glad. Well, I am. All right. So let's talk about this. Why do you want to share your story? There are three things that I want to just highlight in why you want to share your story. Number one, you should share your story because it gives you an opportunity to be authentic. I know authenticity has become a buzzword. People put it on a shirt. Everybody's talking about, I want to be authentic. And how do I be authentic? The best way to be authentic is just be you. Take it from the lady who spent a lot of time trying to do it like everybody else, try to be like everybody else, and it just didn't work. Right? So being authentic helps you to be relatable. Right? The reason why some of you are here with me watching this video, whether you're watching this live or in the replay, is because for some reason you feel like I have come across authentic enough and I feel relatable to you, right? You become relatable. Number two, the other reason why you want to share your story, your journey, is because you have a unique perspective. And guess what happens with your unique perspective? You get an opportunity to separate you from everyone else in the crowd. My girl here, Rachel Luna is here, Girl Confident. You guys make sure to follow her on Instagram or on Facebook. And she has this book called Permission to Offend. If you go to Bad Christian Podcast, I had a chance to talk to her. I've never, ever read a book that said I had permission to offend. And it's not what you're thinking. Go pick up her book because she explains the whole premise behind permission to offend. But guess what? Her sharing her unique perspective is what sets her apart from everyone else. Some of you have something that totally goes against the grain of everyone else, and you're not willing to do it. You're not willing to take a stand. My girl Shay Bynes, she has a book called Grace Over Grind. She does not subscribe to the hustle culture. In fact, she hates it, especially if you are a kingdom entrepreneur. She doesn't believe that you should be hustling or grinding, right? And so she's taken a stand for that. And guess what? It set her apart in the marketplace, and the reason why she takes a stand because she used to be a part of hustle and grind culture, even as a believer. And so because she shares her unique perspective, it sets her apart from everyone else. I don't know why. I don't know where this happened. Adults in the room, maybe you guys can tell me. Heather Hyman, good to see you. When did we become this people who want to blend in with everyone else? We tell our kids, our nieces, our nephews, our grandkids, hey, it's okay to be different. It's okay to be unique. But yet we don't embrace that for ourselves. And maybe the reason why they're not embracing their uniqueness, they're not embracing the fact that they've been separated, they've been called apart to do something, they're not embracing the fact that they're a leader, is because they don't see the people, the adults in their life doing it. Number three, why you want to tell your story? Because it builds connection. Stories help build connection. Christina Shear, she's here. She says that lukewarm life. She said it. I'm just reading the comment. But you see what I'm saying? Like, your story helps to build connection. And so if you're one of those people who are just like, I'm trying to build a following, I'm trying to get people to listen to my podcast, to look at me as an expert, as a leader. Well, I just gave you one tip to do it. Start telling your story. Because what happens when you start telling your story, they start seeing themselves in your story. When I talk to people about the fact that you see me now here, I've been on the Today Show twice, spoken in Vegas and California, just did a course with LinkedIn Learning. And when people see all that, they think, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. But what they don't see is the fact that I was the girl when I started in 2015 in this digital space, very uncomfortable with my voice and very uncomfortable being in front of the camera. I built my camera confidence muscle. Did you hear what I said? When I started in these digital streets, the Rose Show Live did not like her voice, did not like how I looked on camera. I was very uncomfortable. And so when I tell that story to people, they're just like, that can't be. Because a lot of times people see your glory, but they don't understand your story and your journey. And for some of you, you have been on that journey with me since 2015. So you've seen the development, you've seen the growth, right? But for others, you had to bring them along and say, hey, I know what it's like to feel X, Y, and Z. I know what it's like to feel rejected. I know what it's like to say, I have something important to say, but I am so stifled by the gremlins in my brain and the things that keep telling me that, wait a second, you can't talk about that. You can't share that story. Nobody wants to hear that. I love that, Shanice. She says, Periscope in the house. That's right, Shanice, Periscope. But I started there in order to get here. And so telling your story, right, makes you relatable. It sets you apart from everyone else and it helps to build connection. So let's get down into the nitty gritty, okay? This is where we may get into some visibility therapy. Again, remember, just a disclaimer, I don't claim to be a therapist, but I know a really good one. Here's what I'm seeing. Now, I've been doing this visibility work for the past 5 years. And in my own journey, and those clients I've had an opportunity to work with, many of you here are watching online or going to be watching in the replay. What have I found to be the biggest obstacle to people having that hindrance and hesitation in telling their story? Two things: judgment and rejection. Put that in the comments because we're going to talk about it. Judgment and rejection. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection. That if I tell this story and I really show up, that I'm going to be judged. That rejection, that what if I tell it and I'm still not received by people? You know what that's like? That's been the journey of my life, right? You know, when I started doing this, I was working at my local CBS affiliate as an executive morning show producer. And when I saw Periscope come on the scene, I saw it as an opportunity to do the things I'm talking about right here, to be relatable, build connection, community, and also to separate me from everyone else. Okay. And I was judged harshly by people that were colleagues in the industry because many of my TV people were just like, oh, this is a fad. Actually, I had a TV person say that to me. This is a fad. It's not going to work. You know, Rashonda, what are you doing? What is this Rose Show Live thing doing? You know, people just didn't get it. And I understand. And sometimes change or embracing innovation can be scary. You know, there were people in my personal life who just were like, I don't get it. What is she doing? She has a good job. Why would she leave her TV job and go bet on herself? I get it. Right. But here's what I'm understanding about this: that judgment and rejection are really what's preventing you from showing up. Judgment and rejection, the fear of those two things is what's getting in the way of you being consistent. You know, you made a plan at the beginning of the year and said, you know what? I am going to be consistent and I'm going to start posting X, Y, and Z. And you haven't done it because fear of judgment and rejection. We're going to tackle it. I'm coming down the lane here. You said you were going to write your book. You haven't written the book because rejection. What if nobody buys it? But what if somebody does? I sit here and think of all of the people I've had an opportunity to work with, all the brands that I've had an opportunity to work with, the testimonies and stories of people talking about how what I've done has impacted their life and all of these things. And I shudder at the thought that if I had listened to judgment and fear, because they'll try to talk to you, if I had listened to that, I wouldn't have met Nathalie. I wouldn't have an opportunity to meet Girl Confident, Rachel Luna. I wouldn't have an opportunity to work with some of the other clients that I see here. I wouldn't have that opportunity. So it's like judgment and fear. So, how do we navigate through this, right? Heather Hyman's here. She says people that decide to take the action do so in the midst of fear, not that they don't experience it. Amen and hallelujah. Do it afraid, right? Until you can navigate and say, I cast off fear, then maybe you just need to say, I'm just going to do it afraid and I'm going to push through. Crystal Fry is here and she said, some of us would have never had the opportunity to be impacted by you. Love you, Crystal. Thank you so much for sharing. Girl Confidence says, thank God you didn't listen to them or give in to fear. No, I was just crazy enough to believe, crazy faith, that this thing would work. So here's two things that we have to do. Okay. I'm going to give you some strategy now about what I have done and what I've walked clients through with this rejection and fear. Derek and Jessica Riley, good to see you. Just show up and push through. That's it. Show up and push through. But for some people, that's still difficult, Derek and Jessica. It's still difficult. Like, I cannot push through because I keep the internal story. Because what I have learned is the person you believe the most, friend, is you. Talking to my IG people right here. The person you believe the most is you. Right here. Talking to my friends here on Facebook and YouTube. The person you believe the most is you. And so what we have to do now is change the internal story. I'm trying my best to stay seated because I'm so excited about this. And as I'm talking to you guys, I'm like getting downloads. So try to keep it together, Cheryl Pullings. The story you are telling yourself, you have got to start to flip the narrative. So, a couple of things. I remember doing a podcast interview with a young lady, and we were having a conversation, and we were talking about this very thing. Like, oh my gosh, this podcast is amazing. Why aren't you putting it out to more people? Why aren't you doing blah, 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 blah? Like all the things. And she says to me, I'm going to be honest with you, Rashonda. It's the rejection. And I said, rejection? And she said, yeah. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that this person I was having a conversation with is a believer in the fact, when I say believer, they believe that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior, right? Okay. If that's not your thing, then that's just not your thing. Those of you who've been around here the most, you know, I'm a Jesus girl and that's it, right? But listen to what I told her, okay? And I believe that this could still benefit you. So listen to what I said. We're going into the strategy of changing the narrative. I told her, I said, what if you started to envision yourself and you took rejection and you hid it behind the cross? And you started saying to yourself that if I pitch this client and they don't take my proposal, if I put this out here and the people who I thought would like it don't receive it, right? What if you just said, "Oh, they're not rejecting me; they're rejecting Jesus because He already took that on the cross." Do you know what I love about? And I've been studying this, Cheryl Pullings. I think you would love this. Here's what I love here about this. Listen to this. Cheryl, I love you. Cheryl's watching on Facebook and she says, I did not come on here to be crying, Rashonda Pratt. Listen, I started studying the fact that Jesus' crucifixion was very much a public event. That Jesus' crucifixion had to be visible. Come on. The Bible says that he became a public spectacle in front of everyone. So that means he's already taken all the shame, all the rejection you could ever experience. It was already on the cross. He already took the rejection of, them laughing at me. Sorry, on the cross. He already took the rejection, Cheryl, of them talking about me. I can't believe she's launching that and doing something. He already took it on the cross. He already took it on the cross, that the fact that they're going to talk about the fact that, oh my gosh, I can't believe you wrote a book, Coach Terry. I can't believe you're out there creating reels and TikToks like those young girls. He already took it on the cross. So here's the thing. If he already took it on the cross, why are you going to take it off the cross? Listen, I'm trying to stay together. If it was already nailed to the cross, then why are you walking up there and say, "No, Jesus, it's okay. I know you took all of this. You took all the, the beating, the bruising, all of the stuff. You did all of that, but it's okay. I want rejection," because that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. And he already took that on the cross. It's already, that debt has already been settled and paid. Here's how what this looks like, and then in this is what it looks like. So when I'm getting ready to do something and I could feel rejection coming on me, I say, "No, I'm accepted in the beloved. I've already been accepted." That's why I told this person. I said, "No, you just say, I'm already been accepted in the beloved. Jesus doesn't reject me. And if they don't like this, then guess what? It's not for them. But he will send me the person it's for." This is how we start to rewrite the narrative and what we're telling ourselves in our what the thing is telling us, right? And some of this comes from our trauma, past experiences. You did an event one time, it didn't go well. Hello. Present, accounted for. You did all those things. And then so what happens, our brain is lazy, right? And so our brain, and listen, I'm not the newer scientist, girl confident, Rachel Luna is. Make sure you check her out and follow her. I just know enough to be dangerous about my brain. And it keeps and stores the memory of that. And so you say, "Well, it happened before. And so I'm just not even going to try again." When he told the disciples that when you go to someone's house and they don't receive the message, come on, business owners, he told the disciples, "You don't take that personal. You dust your feet off and you go to the next client." Because if we really believe that the word of God says that I will make you fishermen of men, I'll make you fishermen of men, right? If we really believe that, then we just got to believe it, because that's what he told them. So if he called them that and he said, you were once fishermen, I will now make you fishers of men, that means he has men for them to catch. Listen, I'm so glad I'm recording this, because this is really blessing me, and I'm just this is what happens sometimes. Do you get what I'm saying here? Do you get what I'm saying? So that means if he's calling you to something, that means he has clients for you, Cheryl, Leslie, Nathalie, Girl Confident, Coach Terry, everyone else who's watching this live and watching this in the replay. So why would you take on rejection? Because rejection is not your client. I want that to sit. You have taken on rejection like it's your client, and it is not. Because rejection has already been taken care of. We're talking about the obstacles that get in the way of us really telling our story, right? What gets in the way? So he took rejection. The other thing that I find that we have to do, and this may be a little tough, okay, because we're going deep now, because I talk a lot that visibility is power. Visibility is power, but I am learning that visibility is an inside job. See, we talked about that the inner story is impacting the outward performance. Hey, Tammy Jones, good to see you. We talked about that. We talked about how the inward performance, the inward story rather, is impacting our outward performance. What is the story you're telling yourself? And I had to challenge myself, because God's talking to me about some big, scary, audacious things. And I had to say to myself, Rashonda, you need to challenge your inner story. So here's where we go about challenging your inner story. Remember, we talked about rejection. We're nailing that to the cross. Okay. We're taking judgment. We're putting it to the cross. Okay. We're taking care of that. And now we're getting to the other strategy, right? Is that you have to finally settle the story with yourself. Let me give you an example of this. I remember this was maybe about 2 years ago. I've always wanted to be the next Oprah. That was my thing. I got into television news because my pathway was I wanted to be the next Oprah. I wanted to take over her job when she retired. Of course, the Lord had other plans. And this organization paid for me, flew me out to Chicago to talk to them about storytelling in the social media space. And I was on the plane, y'all, crying. I felt so bad for the guy next to me because I'm like, it wasn't like, you're trying to muffle the cry on the plane, but I'm like this. Like it was just, and I was crying because I was so overwhelmed because I thought about, I always had this dream to go to Chicago. And here I was going to Chicago to do some really impactful work. And I was going as myself and not trying to fit someone else's shoes, which was a whole thing. And then I started thinking about my journey and I started thinking about, and then I wrote a LinkedIn post about it, which was really pretty bold. And this is what I wrote on LinkedIn. I said, it was something to the effect, Coach Terry, wow, it's amazing to be sitting on a plane headed to Chicago to talk to women about telling their story in the social space. And I was the girl who repeated a grade. I was so embarrassed by that, guys. Up until that moment, I was so embarrassed by the fact that I had to repeat a grade in school. Now I don't even care. I was so embarrassed by that. I was so like that was the big thing, talking about abuse as a kid and all those other things by other people. You know, I talked about that. I had reconciled that, but that one thing of saying I was a girl that had low self esteem and I had to repeat a grade. I mean, you feel like you're a dummy. Let's be honest. Come on, judgment. See, some of you don't have a hater. You're your hater. Wish I had some music that could play while I say those things. You don't have a hater. It's you. So you're not looking for somebody else to judge you. You're judging yourself. And so there I was in that moment. And so I wrote this post on LinkedIn. Everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, this was amazing." And then after I posted it, Cheryl, I said, "Did I just tell these people that I repeated a grade?" And then I said, "Yep, I sure did because this is what I've learned." Thank you, G. This is what I learned. When you reconcile your own story, the enemy cannot hold it over your head. Your family can't hold it over your head. Your enemy, whoever that be, can't hold it over your head. And the little gremlin that's still trying to talk you out of your promise, can't hold it over your head because you already reconciled it. And for some of you, you need to go and look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself the story. Tell it to yourself. Yep, I repeated a grade. Sure did. Yep, didn't do really well on the SAT. Yep. Come on. All the things that are getting in the way that you are judging, that are impacting how you are supposed to show up in your assignment. I took the power back. I don't know. I just felt a shift on that plane. And I'm not talking about turbulence, but I felt a shift when I posted that thing and I reconciled it. I said, wow, yep, there's no more shame in that. There's no more judgment in that. It's like the scene from, I think it's Sparkle, when Whitney Houston and her daughter were having a back and forth thing, and her daughter was trying to tell her story about, who she was as a mom. And she said, if you're going to tell my story, you better tell it right. Come on. Some of you need to tell yourself as the gremlins and the hater is starting to pop up. You said, no, 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 no. If you're going to tell my story, you're going to tell it right. Yeah, I repeated 2 grades. Now go tell that. Nothing can be held over your head when you learn to reconcile it. It just can't. And this is not like you going to go tell your friend, and let me just say this because some of y'all, blessed Savior. Listen, we're going to open up Q&A here in a few minutes. If you have any Q&A. This is not you now taking what I just said and say, you know what? I need to reconcile this. I'm hitting the live button and then spilling that out here. No, 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 no. You need to tell it to you. You need to hear it first. Why do I recommend that? Because it might still sting. And why would you put that on people? My heart has always been girl confident, man. Yeah, this is not a confessional, Shanice. It's always been, I want to make my corner of the internet better. Yeah, journaling, Cheryl. I love that. I want to make my corner of the internet better. I mean, there is enough. There's a hashtag on TikTok called trauma TikTok. Oy vey. I mean, there's enough of that happening. But I need to tell it to myself. And for some of you, journaling it, but you may need to give words to it out loud. Now, here's what I want to say as a caveat. If you find yourself doing that and it opens up a wound, because one of the things I believe about God is wherever He reveals, He heals. If you need to get professional support, I'm talking about you need to talk to a therapist. There's nothing wrong with Jesus in therapy. I just met with my therapist this past week. We have a monthly appointment. Because sometimes when you start to speak things out loud, something comes up and you say, okay, why did that make me feel this way? What is going on here? Because I need to reconcile that. And now maybe I need to go talk to somebody. I don't know if that's an ongoing thing. Maybe it's a one thing, whatever. But I'm just telling you, right? That these two things, judgment and rejection, can no longer get in the way. It just, you're missing out. And you know what gets me about this, Shanice, too? Well, I'm so passionate about this topic here. And listen, if you're not a part of my Facebook community, this is kind of, we've been on this whole thing about identity, child. I mean, we've been doing life and business studies and talking about identity. Make sure to join my Facebook group, the VIP Collective. I'm passionate about this because I'm tired of seeing you not win. Tired of seeing us not where we need to be. I'm tired of seeing people who don't care about people, who are in it for all the wrong reasons. I mean, you could see it. They almost just say it in so many words. I'm tired of you discounting yourself. Tired of you saying, I can't do that. Why not? Why not you? Why not you? I'm tired of you just not betting on you. You spent your life betting on everyone else, everything else. Why not you? Why not now? Can't hesitate any longer. Let me tell you something. As we continue to walk this AI journey, your story is going to be even more paramount in telling it. It's going to be. Why? Because everything now is like you can put in a couple of keywords and AI can spit out something. Listen, I'm not those people who are just like, I hate AI. You shouldn't use it. It's the devil. I mean, anything can be mishandled and misused, right? There is there's efficiency in innovation. But while everyone else is AIing it, and I use AI, there's just some things AI can never replace, and that is your humanness and your story. Just can't. And so, if you want to talk about what you need to focus on, your communication and specifically your story. And so, we walk through that in what we discussed. We talked about, you know, the Native American proverb that says, those that tell the stories rule the world. I'm hoping that through our conversation, you've seen that and you've seen the power of that. We talked about how your internal story is impacting your outward performance. We talked about the three ways why you want to tell a story, right? You want to tell a story because it makes you relatable, it creates connection. We also talked about it separates you from everyone else. And then we talked about the two biggest obstacles that get in the way: fear of judgment and fear of rejection. But we also talked about some strategies that you can use to navigate to get through those two things. Listen, as we continue this cycle and going into a new chapter, there's some things that I'm really, really focusing on. And as you can see, there's been some changes already here when it comes to my brand here. I'm really focusing in on communication strategy because I could teach you how to do a TikTok, how to do a reel, how to sit here and do live video, right? And be impactful. But it all goes back to communication. Good to see you, first timer. Oh, thank you so much for being here. This will be available in the replay. And we're talking about breaking the silence and overcoming your hesitation in telling your story. Glad to have you here. This is important. Your communication is so important, and that's a part of your story. So before I wrap up, any questions or comments, I want to say thank you so much to my IG audience. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for rocking, doing the live. You guys are awesome, and I loved what I saw in the comments. To those who are watching here on Facebook and YouTube, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for watching. Listen, I want to give you something. I want you to stay connected. And so there are two ways that we can stay connected. My Facebook community called the VIP Collective. We can stay connected there. And then also, whenever I go live, this wasn't a planned live. It was just something that's been on my heart for the past 2 days. And I said, listen, we're about to start a new week. We need to come in here and have this conversation. So I want you to be part of my text community. So if you text the keyword show, 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 text that keyword, okay, to 803. Why do I not know my, Lord, why do I not know my, I'm looking at my notes and I can't even think of what my, what my text community is. This is why I write notes, right? Why? Because I'm not always going to remember. Text the keyword show, SHOW, to 803-879-5217. Again, text the keyword show, SHOW, to 803-879-5217. We're not going to sell your information, but this is a way that you can just stay connected with us. So that way, thank you, Crystal. You're amazing. I love it. It's right there on your screen for those who are on Facebook and YouTube. So that way you can stay connected. And whenever we go live, we just send it to you. So that way you will know about it. This is a great question as we begin to close. Cam says, how do you break the silence when others don't want to hear you? Okay, Cam, that's a good question. How do you know others don't want to hear you? Is that the story you've told yourself? Again, don't know the whole story, but is that a story you told yourself and you start to believe it? Okay. Or is it that you're trying to tell a story to people you are not called to? Those are two things that I want you to think about, Cam. You don't have to answer right now, but who told you that others don't want to hear you? Is that, listen, we talked about judgment and rejection. Is that something that you are believing? Or are you trying to tell a story to a group of people, God bless you, Nancy, that you are not called to tell that story to? You're not called to serve in that way. Something to think about. And Cam, I'd love to know your answer. You can send me a DM over on IG. I'd love to hear it. Okay, this was great. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm fired up. I'm over here like, gosh, I'm about to clean something or definitely not going to bed. Man, I'm super pumped. But listen, I'll make sure to keep this in the replay. You guys are so amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mwah. Good to see some of my people here. Rachel Luna, love you, girl. Thank you so much for being here. Coach, thank you. Dr. Leisha, good to see you. Nancy, Cam, thank you so much for joining. Good to see you. Shanice, glad that you tapped in. New Creation, thank you so much for being here. 536, Rich, I love it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. And to my friends over here on Facebook and YouTube, Crystal, Natalie, Cheryl, Natalie. She says this was good and timely. I love it. And to all of you guys in the replay, make sure you use hashtag replay. And if you have questions in the replay, I always go back to check it. I will make sure to respond. You guys have been amazing. Listen, you no longer have the right to remain silent. Your silence is not golden. Let's learn to silence the inner critic and not silence ourselves. See what I said? Let's learn how to silence the inner critic, the gremlins inside, and not silence ourselves. I love you guys. Be blessed and have a great night. Thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you.
It's the Rose Show, CEO of Live Video. It's the Rose Show, CEO of Live Video.